Sci-Fi, the genre where plot holes are filled with science and other holes are filled with other stuff. A genre of movies that's been mastered by the best directors of our time. You got Steve Spielberg's Stan the Man Cubis, Diddley Squat, and of course, Canadian winner of the prestigious Randy Award, Ben Even. In the fray of all the 80s classics that have solidified the genre into how we define it today, it's easy to overlook a lot of the lesser known diamonds in the rough that are often forgotten in the years past. That's where a man named Ray Kroc comes in, a student of the arts and influence established by former works such as 2001, A Space Odyssey, Alien, E.T., and Crocodile Dundee 2, to name a few. He was such a visionary that single-handedly creating a fast food empire by himself from the ground up that everyone now loves and cherishes simply was not enough for him. He had a vision of what would be the perfect science fiction film ever made. And that's why, folks, I have partnered with all of the great folks at McDonald's to explain to you Mac and Me, the greatest ever science fiction film made by an American fast food mega corporation. I'm loving it. And by it, I mean this movie. And after you see it, you'll be loving it also. Directly pulling influence from the Monkey Boys at the beginning of 2001, we open this movie up on a desert planet where we see these equally terrifying this adorable family of aliens who are not scary at all and are carrying around straws to suck out some dirt hill juice. While his dad is sucking himself to health, his son, the titular Mac, starts signaling via whistle to his family that there's a NASA spacecraft landing right in front of them. This happy little family goes over to investigate the terrifying spacecraft, poking and prodding it, probably breaking a bunch of expensive equipment. And this ship is just sitting there like, you mess with one more thing, I'm gonna suck every single one of you. And suck them, this ship does. It starts with the youngest boy, Mac, and then it sucks the mom, dad, and it even sucks the little sister. So we're basically starting this movie on a one big suck fest. After sucking this whole family off of their planet, this ship heads back to a military base.
50 people saw it.
Where it's revealed that the ship got 3 full loads out of these dummies.
3 full loads.
But that's certainly not the only thing busting here, because soon after, they all bust the hell out of that spacecraft, resulting in a legitimately terrifying scene where Mac, glides out of the laboratory past all the staff and scientists before his family, who then just kind of walk out of there with very little resistance from the scientists or military forces.
Stay back.
Where they then escape, I think? I'm not entirely sure. Then we go back to Mac, who has somehow ended up in a hangar completely separate from his family, also being chased by a ton of military dudes in helicopters and Humvees, and he just sort of eerily scurries past all of them, changing the girth and tonnage of his arms as he runs into an electric fence. When I tell you that the dummy that they used on this scene where Mac is hanging off of the fence sideways while violently seizing up like in cartoons is one of the most fucking terrifying things that you won't be able to get out of your head. I'd be lying because it's silly and wacky fun for the whole family. Then Mac gets shot back by the electricity of the fence and into traffic where he splats on his fucking Phil Hartman ass looking dude's car. His kid is riding shotgun screaming, "Oh my God, we're gonna crash, Dad!" And his dad's screaming back like, "I know, God damn it, I just killed Caillou. I'm heading to that bush over there." So anyway, they crash into a hedge on the side of the road, which causes every car coming in their direction to violently crash into each other, most likely killing all of the people inside them. Then we see Mac crawl up the hood of this car with the kid who was screaming before just staring at him. And at this point, most people who are watching the movie are probably thinking, oh, that's the kid Mac becomes friends with. Otherwise, why would they hold a scene together for this long? Not in this fucking movie. While all the victims of the giant car crash are being revived and hosed down for some reason, this little fucker Mac, dude, this cute little nugget Mac, sneaks into a van with a mother named Jill and her oldest son Mitch. Okay, and our main boy, good old Rick. A man comes by the van and calms everyone down by telling them that it's nothing serious and something just ran across the road. And this dumbass scientist checks their van with a flashlight and somehow just like doesn't see Mac sitting in the back seat. After Mac takes a little car nap, we see that the rest of his ugly ass family, who are all somehow stranded in the middle of the desert, despite getting all the way past armed military guards who are vigorously hunting them down, and they look completely famished. When the family pulls up to their new home, they got some little wook girl across the street just watching them. In case this movie wasn't already creepy enough, on the first shot of this little asshole, my first thought was, damn, they put ghosts in this movie too? But no, she's real and her name is like Tabitha or some shit. Then Mitch finds the sunglasses from They Live seemingly and sees Mac pop in when he's wearing them, and then he disappears when he's not wearing them. So what you probably think is like, oh yeah, these are the fucking sunglasses from the movie They Live, the John Carpenter cult classic from, hang on a second, the same year. And then you look it up and I was like, holy crap, Lois, no way, this movie came out before They Live came out. So does that mean there's a possibility that the sci-fi cult classic They Live by John Carpenter might have gotten its entire premise from Mac and me? Yeah, that's exactly what it means. Then Mac pops up behind Rick while he's looking at a picture with his father, and when he puts it down, Mac stares at it like he recognizes him. Is Mac the one who like murdered Rick's dad, dude? What the f is going on in this movie? Then Rick's RC car runs out of battery, so Mac, while literally leaning on Rick's wheel, oh, by the way, Rick is in a wheelchair. Why did they make that choice? I'll tell you later. He uses his electricity powers to give his RC car an explosion of speed. Rick is still completely unaware that he's there with him. I don't know how he got into that wheelchair, but all I'm saying is, judging by the events that we've already seen in this movie, he probably would not have been a difficult kid to attack if you just used the slightest amount of stealth. I don't know that's how he got into the wheelchair. I'm just saying I'd believe it. That's how it went down. Then Mac gives the TV another little electricity pop and turns it on. And Rick still has no fucking idea he's in there. And then his mom fucking comes in.
Here's your toe. What?
After that, Rick finds a bunch of alien footprint tracks going from the bathroom to the refrigerator and sees Mac jump out from the top of the fridge. Then Rick rolls into the backyard to find more alien tracks, and fucking Tabitha is just watching the whole thing happen. She lies to him and tells him he's really cute. He had these disgusting eyes and a rigid back. He definitely was not a demon haunting the new house he just moved into. And Rick is like, yeah, I actually already knew that, asshole, and that little thing that you've now seen more than me is my little brother. Later that night, Jill goes up to Rick and tucks him in for the night. And Rick is like, I guess maybe we shouldn't be concerned about that little creature inside our new house who broke a lamp and caused terror around the whole house all day, leaving very suspicious footprints. And his stupid ass mom, his incredibly astute and strong single mother, says,
well, maybe it was one of the neighborhood kids or something.
Then we get a shot of Mac watching Rick get tucked in, and he turns around with tears going down his face. Good! Little bastard. The next morning, Rick gets out of bed to find his RC car attacking him, a drill coming through the wall straight at his fucking head, with a gigantic eye staring at him through one of the holes, and the entire house is fucking modeled after a up version of the outdoors that one can only assume resembles Mac's hunting grounds. Mac then proceeds to saw a triangle through the front door, and then he just stares at this child in a wheelchair through it as if he were saying, you got a 60-second head start, but I swear to God I will track you down and find you. Needless to say, Jill is pissed. She comes in screaming about her house being a complete wreck. Her older son comes in equally pissed, and for some reason, both of them seem to think that the youngest member in their family, who is again in a wheelchair, was able to completely rearrange all of the furniture and decor inside the house overnight. This is the most logic-driven movie I've ever seen from the 80s. Sad from getting screamed at and blamed for completely flipping their house the wrong way by his family, Rick goes through the backyard to this completely open hill that leads to a 30-foot cliff going into a lake. One can only assume that he's gone out to this location to clear a sill. So anyway, McDonald's found a dummy wheelchair kid to throw into the lake for this scene, but Mac, who somehow is already down there to witness the whole thing, pulls him out of the river as if to say, I can't let it happen like this. It needs to be me. He then wheels this little kid up the side of the lake while Rick's family and neighbor are watching, and somehow they're still unable to see this little just a family of blind people. Back in Rick's room, Tabitha is working her wook magic. And by wook magic, I mean diagnosing Rick with schizophrenia with absolutely zero fucking experience as a psychologist. I mean, she's a registered nurse. Then her sister comes in dressed in her McDonald's work outfit and is like, hey kid, I know you just tried to and we're unsuccessful because your family hates you. But do you want to come to this birthday tomorrow? It's at this location that you definitely don't need to know about yet. Then Mitch comes in and sees Tabitha's sister, and he gets mad at Rick for not mentioning her to him in the midst of a potential demon entity wreaking havoc in this new house they just moved into. Then both of the boys drive their mom to Sears so she can start her first job in 10 years. Good for her though. There's nothing wrong with a working single mom supporting her family. And of course, I can't mention this scene without also mentioning the part where the boys head to McDonald's for a tasty Big Mac. Back at their house, Rick tries to bring out Mac by leaving a trail of straws and Coke everywhere around the house, which is a completely natural way to lure a creature out and not at all a forced form of product placement. In this movie, made by McDonald's. And what do you know? It works. Mac starts drinking one of the Cokes, and Rick and Tabitha run into the closet to wait for him. They're hiding while this little fucker is just going around the house, sucking up all their Coke, until they pop out of the closet and suck him into a vacuum. She has like the vacuum pack on her back. And once Mac gets into her vacuum pack, we get maybe the scariest scene in the entire movie, dude. Tabitha begins violently spinning around and dragging Rick all throughout the house, even getting driven up the fucking wall, across the ceiling, back down another wall, completely crushing what we are meant to believe are her legs until she ends up back on the floor. Mac climbs out of the vacuum and starts writhing in pain on the floor, and somehow these kids are immediately able to distinguish that these are clearly Coke withdrawals, so they jack that little bastard up and he becomes good as new. Rick and Mitch wake up the next morning to find out that Mac cleaned up the entire living room and fixed the front door. And they get excited and thankful for Mac for fixing the problems that he created himself. This motherfucker has been successfully gaslighting them this entire movie. I mean, he's a helpful little guy. While Rick and his mom are out on a good old run and roll, Max somehow gets into like a Power Wheels Jeep and provokes all of the neighbors' dogs into chasing him. He gets spotted by several neighbors, and then this little bastard wraps the fucking Jeep around a tiny tree and somehow gets stuck in the tree. He sucks. He just fucking breaks everything, dude. So Tabitha pulls up to go to a birthday party. But some men in suits show up to the house and they're asking questions. So because they don't want to leave Mac inside the house having more coke withdrawals with suited men outside, they put him in a teddy bear costume. Rick, Tabitha, and Mac, now dressed up as a teddy bear, are followed by the suited men to this birthday party, which is held, of course, at a McDonald's. And when you watch this movie, this is probably going to be the scene everyone remembers the most because it shows a crazy variant of McDonald's with breakdancers in the parking lot with a bunch of kids just going through the motions surrounding them. I've heard a rumor that young Jennifer Aniston is one of the kids in this scene, but I'm not really sure which one she is, so just take it with a grain of salt. Anyway, we go inside the McDonald's and Ronald McDonald himself is in there doing magic tricks and out of a cup. And this is easily the most lit fucking McDonald's I've ever seen. It is so far from the true version of what McDonald's is today, which is now one of the saddest places you could possibly go. Like, the people inside are always at the end of their rope. The employees fucking hate your guts when you walk in. Most of the tables are open. There's a wet floor sign in front of the door because some crackhead just went there to take a piss and leave because they wouldn't give him the bathroom code. There's a fight about to break out at the counter because somebody got their order wrong. I'm just kidding. I'm just making a joke. McDonald's is the happiest place on earth, everybody. Everything I just said it's not true. Mac literally does 2 floating front flips across the restaurant and starts dancing on the front counter while everyone in the restaurant just watches and cheers him on. The dudes in the suits are like, the bear's an alien. Then Mac just sort of flies back into Rick's wheelchair as the suited guys chase them with a cage out of the McDonald's and then through the town, resulting in this extremely derivative chase scene. And I'm pretty sure this is the entire reason that they decided to put him in a wheelchair, was so they could basically recreate the chase at the end of E.T. without getting in legal trouble. Anyway, they roll into the Sears that Jill works at. We see her on the escalator talking to a coworker who's like trying to have sex with her. I don't know. They roll out of the store where Mitch is just waiting in his van driving by and just sort of scoops Rick's wheelchair into the van while they're driving. They have a little powwow in the van and decide that Mac needs to reunite with his family because he keeps pointing in the same direction. How do they know that it's his family he's pointing at and not some fucking colony of cocoons that they want to harvest each of their bodies in to either feast on or perform decades of research or breed to create some sort of electrical, stretchy, cartoonish alien human hybrid race to go around inconveniencing the rest of the humans on Earth. Or all 3. Anyway, he takes them all out to the middle of the desert. Mac leads them to a cave where they find his family laying nearly dead on the floor, and they just nurse each of them back to health with coke. We hear water dripping in the cave. There's water in there, but they don't need water. They need Coke. The dad, aka Big Mac, stands up above everyone, fucking hanging dong in there, just like fucking intimidating everyone. They cure the family there, okay? It takes like 30 seconds. They haul ass out of the desert. The dad is being the most annoying piece of shit in the back of the van. I swear to fucking God, dude. During this scene, I was praying that someone would just fucking rear end this van and kill all the goddamn aliens in the back of it, dude. You know what? No, I'm done defending this fucking movie. I don't care about the stupid sponsorship anyway. Get out of my fucking house. Get out, go. Your movie sucks. Eat shit. Anyway, they all live and get back to town where they all continue to be annoying pieces of shit. There's even a scene where they are so fucking annoying that they set off the climax of the movie that begins with a security guard pointing a fucking gun at the dad for holding a watermelon after the mom knocks over this like can display that this grocery store set up. Big Mac literally just walks up to the security guard while he's pointing this gun at him, and he just grabs it. Just grabs it out of his hands with zero resistance from him. The security guard is like, "What are you gonna do? Take my gun from me? Come on! What are you gonna do? Shoot me?" Then a bunch of cops come in pointing their guns at Big Mac. One of them pulls Mitch away and puts him in a cop car, and all of the cops outside have the alien family in a standoff. All the aliens come outside. Dad's got a revolver in one hand, and somehow he picked up some groceries on his way out in his other hand. At this point, dude, I'm not asking for any questions. Like, this movie can just do whatever it wants. They just waltz on through the police barricade. Dad's still hanging dong, swinging his gun and that thing around, waving it at everyone along the way. They walk all the way through the police barricade. The police do nothing. Rick rolls.
Joe Biden, wake up. 9/11.
His wheelchair as fast as he can after them. The dad straight up just turns around and points the gun either at Rick or the police. And they all just open fire while Rick is just like out in front of them in the middle of the standoff. Not only do they turn Rick into f***ing Swiss cheese out there, they blow up the entire store, killing probably like 100 people or so inside. Like, I'm just saying that store was busy. So we get this shot of this like violent building fire, and in front of it is just this kid in a wheelchair who was just brutally murdered by the police, dude. They wheel him back and get who I think is the psychologist from before to declare him dead. Jill was apparently picked up by a police helicopter from her job at Sears to come find her son that again was killed by police to mourn his death. At this point, the Macs emerge through the fire and come to Rick. His mom sees these horrifying aliens for the very first time in front of her, has never seen them in her life, and just lets them start fucking around with her son's dead body. The Macs give Rick the old light as a feather, stiff as a board treatment and bring him back to life. What seems like the next day, they're having a court hearing at what appears to be the Church of Scientology, where they give the Mac family US citizenship in this country where they've been constantly tracked down, probed, nearly murdered several times, lost their son, and are seemingly still being pursued by men in suits. Also, Big Mac is now driving Rick and Tabitha, along with his own family, around in a pink convertible. What were the aliens sucking out of their planet? Was it Coke? Is Coke supposed to be an otherworldly drink? How did Mac get down from that fucking tree he crashed into in that Power Wheels Jeep? Why did we spend so much time looking at him in the first place? What happened between Mitch and Tabitha's sister? If it wasn't supposed to go anywhere, Why even start the subject in the first place? If I had to rate this movie on a scale from a double quarter pounder with cheese to a spicy deluxe McCrispy, I'd probably give it a fillet of fish. What did you think of this movie? Did you like this movie? Did you not like this movie? Did I do a bad enough job of explaining it? And what do you want to see me explain badly next? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Love you lots, and that's it.